Hello, welcome to an episode of That Engineering Chat. These are slightly different episodes, as you know, because we're going to be promoting some shows, and the particular show that we're going to be talking about today and the promotion behind it is Subcon, where we will be going along for a few days, early June, popping up in our pop-up podcast pod, where we'll be talking to some of the movers and shakers in the industry. And we thought, who do we talk to first about this, really? And we thought it'd be really interesting to talk to someone who's from, great manufacturing background and could tell us a bit more about it. And so I'm delighted to introduce Chris Beck. He's the editor of Manufacturing Management, but not only that, he is the event content director of the engineering titles and businesses at, Mark Allen. So, listen, brilliant to meet you, Chris. Thank you for coming on today.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Nicole. Yeah, nice to meet you. Introduce myself then.
Hi, myself. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. It's great to be with you. Looking forward to it.
So, let's get stuck in straight away. How long have you been the editor of Manufacturing Management? I know that title because a lot of our clients use you and have used you. How long have you been doing that?
I've been editor for. Well, I joined the week after the Brexit vote. So there you go, July 2016. I joined. So it's been a fair while. And I've had my event content role for about 6 months or so. Event
content? Explain that a bit to me.
Obviously we run a load of events as the Mark Allen Group around engineering and manufacturing. Subcon obviously being one of them, but we've got loads and loads of others. And I'm kind of in charge of coordinating speakers and various other promotional bits for all of our events. So it's really exciting, and obviously events coming back with a bit of a bang at the moment. So it's a busy time, as I'm sure you can imagine.
It is a busy time, and certainly, have you ever had anyone come along doing podcasts at Subcon before? I bet you haven't, have you?
No, I don't think so. No, not while I've been here. So no, it's really exciting. It's good additional bit of content, I suppose.
Yeah, and so you're going to be someone that I'm going to be able to speak to about all the people I should be speaking to.
Of course, yeah. I'll do my best. Yeah,
you're the man in the know. Don't worry, we won't be chasing you around with a stick. What to do next? But it's great to. That's a big thing, isn't it? Because you must get a lot of people wanting to talk at these events, and you've got to make sure that the content's great for everyone attending, but also the exhibitors get a fair share to talk. That's a big job in itself, isn't it?
It can be a bit like herding cats, yeah.
But I like that. Cats, not cattle, but cats.
Yeah. It's it is good. We have a lot of really high profile speakers, as not just manufacturing management, but all the manufacturing and engineering brands that we have. Most notably the Engineer, who are also helping with, it's their Subcon is very much their event as much as manufacturing management. So the reach we have into the market really is unparalleled, and it means that we can call people up and they're more than happy to come along and speak at our events, which is great. It's good for us, and even better for the delegates coming along to hear from some really world-class speakers.
And it's a bit of a special year this year for Subcon, isn't it?
It is. It's the 45th anniversary. It's a big one. Oh. Yeah, I don't know what that would be as a wedding
anniversary. Nearly as old as me.
I'm not going to say that, Nicole.
No, it is. Seriously, that's great.
And obviously, it's we were pretty much the first event back last September after the pandemic, and that went down really well. And now back to its kind of spiritual home, I suppose, in June. Co-located with the Manufacturing Management Show and the Engineer Expo and various other bits and bobs in the same halls. So it should be a really good event. And of course the Jubilee the week before. I think there's going to be some Jubilee themed fun and games there as well. So you've got to mark it, really, haven't you?
Do you think we're going to see lots of people eating Jubilee cake? I think we are, aren't we?
Yeah, I've heard rumours of scones, cream teas. So
There's not going to be any cream teas on my stand, I'm afraid. I'll be too busy talking, to be honest. But I mean, can you explain manufacturing's place in the UK economy? A slightly more serious question.
Yeah. So to the general public, manufacturing unfairly gets a bit of a bad rep. We are the 9th biggest manufacturing nation in the world. We're just behind France, but ahead of most of the rest of Europe, most other countries that you'd kind of associate with manufacturing. But there's a real image problem, I suppose, with it. I seem to remember a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, there was a report that Make UK, and I'm sure many people have heard of, Make UK did, where they interviewed or they asked the public, where does the UK rank globally in terms of its manufacturing industry? And I think the average was something like 56th, which was the same as Azerbaijan. And we're actually 9th. There's a real image problem. But I think, the last couple of years, while they've been, pretty awful for many reasons, I think the manufacturing sector has had quite a good PR boost, if you like, from it. In those, think back to, 2 years ago when we were in the peak of the first wave and it was all looking, particularly bleak, and stories of manufacturers clubbing together to make ventilators and PPE and hand sanitizer and everything else. And then, of course, the vaccine, that was, made through engineering, manufacturing, R&D, academia, all working together to get shots in our arm and everything else. So I think the public perception of manufacturing has changed. I think government perception of manufacturing is improving as well. The levelling up agenda that they seem so keen on at the moment, and it's kind of everything they talk about seems to be around levelling up. And manufacturing really has a role to play in that, in my opinion. It's if we're trying to encourage the regions to level up, to become more prosperous, that's where all the manufacturing takes place. The Northwest, the Midlands, the Northeast, these are all heartlands of manufacturing, and they're the regions that we're trying to level up, or government are trying to level up. So if they, hopefully they'll kind of see that and put manufacturing front and center of their kind of bigger agenda in terms of leveling up.
And because I know during the pandemic, I mean, obviously Chatty Hatter, my background's been in the engineering sector for, more decades than I can imagine. But certainly from a PR point of view, we've looked after clients certainly for at least 13, 14 years. And I can totally relate to that kind of, it's just had this, I don't know, never really got the recognition it's deserved. And during the pandemic, certainly even suddenly everyone was like, really starting to appreciate the NHS for starters, but also appreciate what was needed, the actual mechanics that go behind it, the manufacturing that goes behind it, the things that are needed to make this happen. And I think there's a better perception, understanding, just like you said there. So it's nice to have some positives come out of it, isn't it? But also all the amazing work that everyone did and pulled together. So I'm certainly very proud of our country, and it'd be nice if, we all get that recognition a bit more. With Subcon, I mean, that helps to promote that massively, all the great work the industry does. Why else do you think it is so important for these events, like Subcon, to be taking place?
It's just good to be back face to face, isn't it? We've kind of seen the other side of it, where we're limited to Zoom and Teams and all these other online events, and we've all sat through, I'm sure, virtual conferences and virtual trade shows over the last few years, and they're obviously not quite the same. And as much as in the before times we'd semi-jokingly moan about having to go to the NEC or the Excel Centre or a big conference venue and spend a couple of days wandering around that, there is nothing like it. And it's amazing how quickly you started missing the NEC, having gone, pretty regularly through the year, to suddenly not going at all. Just the buzz of a good event, and being able to hear from great speakers or visit exhibitors, either want customers that you work with or clients that you work with, or find new opportunities. Even a conversation that you'd have at something like Subcon, you'd never have if you were just sat at home on emails and on Zoom. So it's sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, and also it just seems to be, certainly for me, doing the EDS show, it was just, people were saying that people were coming and having, not like you said, we come along to shows and we go along to shows and it'd be a bit like, oh, we're going along to another show, but we knew we needed to.
Yeah.
But now we're really having sensible conversations. They're going there with direction. Like, time's become much more precious. Everyone's a bit more strategic about what they're doing. And so people are going there saying, this is who I need to talk to. This is what I need to talk about. And that's much better for the exhibitors as well as the people that are attending, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's but exactly it. Our time is a lot more precious now, and the whole work-life balance thing. We're not going to go to an event if it's not worth it. We're not going to go to a meeting if it's not worth it, or we could do it over Zoom. So the fact that people are coming along to events like Subcon, and you mentioned EDS there as well, that's another excellent case in point. The fact that people are coming along to this shows the quality and shows the kind of standard of conversations that they're having and the conference sessions that they're sitting in and everything else. So, for us as event organizers, it's great that, it's great that people are more than happy seemingly to turn up, because, it has been a funny couple of years for in-person events, and to see them bouncing back as they have is really great.
And has it been a bounce back? Have you been like, are we going to be busy? Obviously we're going to be busy then, aren't we? It's going to be so busy you won't be able to move for people. But I mean, has it been, had a good response? Have you had people being supportive about coming back this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Subcon has been around for 45 years, so it's got quite the legacy in the market. And as soon as it came back last September, like I mentioned, and we were probably one of the first major events to come back and test the water again, and the response to that was great. People, it was a complete stab in the dark. We didn't know if anyone would turn up at all. We had really good numbers, and that's only going to grow this year as the world's fully back open again, and we're kind of all just moving on again with going back to how things were a few years ago.
Who are some of the key speakers at this year's event then?
Well, we've got 3 days of great conference content.
That's not 3 days, isn't it? It's 3 days, because
it is a lot, yeah.
Days, isn't it? 3 days. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that's quite a long. It's quite a long time.
It is, yeah. So we've got quite a few speakers. I mean, first and foremost, the conferences this year are being sponsored by Inenco, who are an energy consultancy, and they've got a session on each day looking at various things around energy procurement, which is obviously, with energy prices doing what they're doing at the moment, that's obviously a massive a massive topic, and things like decarbonisation. They've got a panel discussion on the second day, so on the Wednesday, talking around decarbonisation and how to kind of work towards net zero. But over and above that, we've got BAE Systems. We've got the technology director for BAE Systems coming along to talk about innovation in defence. Again, huge topic. We've got some people talking around a company called Evolito, which is part of a bigger company called YASA, who make electric motors. They're talking about electric transport and particularly electric flight, which is really interesting. Obviously, electric cars are pretty commonplace now, but electric aircraft are kind of the next leap forward in that kind of net zero mobility. We've got the University of Nottingham, a guy called Professor Chris Tuck from the University of Nottingham, who's going to be speaking about additive manufacturing, so 3D printing, which is again quite an exciting high-tech topic that more and more manufacturers are getting involved in. And indeed, we're running an event with them in July. If I may plug another event as part of my events role, we're running an event with them in July, looking at additive manufacturing. It's called Additive International, and they've got some incredible. They've got NASA speaking, and they've got Rolls-Royce speaking, and they've got some really high-level names talking about the kind of very cutting edge of additive manufacturing. So that's a really exciting event as well. So yeah, every single speaker is great. We've got we've got Lloyds Bank speaking. We've got Mark Porsey, who's the MP for rugby, and chairs the all-party parliamentary manufacturing group. So the group of MPs within Parliament who specifically focus on manufacturing, and he chairs that, and he's doing a keynote on the third day of the event. So there's some really, a big range of topics, and everything from sustainability to kind of policy level stuff and everything in between, really. So there should be something, hopefully, for everyone. That was kind of the hope of when we were putting the conference program together, that we'd have something for everyone, really.
And everyone can come along, and they can literally just come along and listen to that, and get in and listen and see where they can they? Because that's, that's
absolutely, yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, that's, I'm already thinking, I mean, you could just learn so much more about things that you might not even think would be relative to what you're doing, and then come away from it thinking, wow, actually that's given me a different angle. So it's worth listening to a lot of those. It's definitely worth people coming along to all 3 days.
It certainly is. Yeah. We always say, even if you come along, have a look around the exhibition, speak to some people there, and then sit in 1 or 2 sessions. If you've learned something from those 1 or 2 sessions, then your trip has been more than worth it, because every single one of the speakers is there to kind of inform and share their knowledge and share some best practice that you can take back to your factory and or your company and implement.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really positive. We like positivity. We're all about positivity. So that's not that this is a negative, but what are some of the challenges that you'd think would be important to highlight that's facing the sector at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned energy prices. Obviously, the kind of cost of living is affecting all of us.
Yes,
not just in the UK, but everywhere, really. It's it's all kind of coming to a head, and that's obviously having an effect on businesses, manufacturers included. They're massive energy users, and for them, every penny they can save on their energy bills is going to be vital. But over and above that, the pandemic and various other events, the boat getting stuck in the Suez Canal, for example, have kind of highlighted the issues with supply chains. And I don't know if it's an urban myth, but apparently during the pandemic, several car manufacturers, who I won't name, were sending people to China with suitcases to fill up on parts that they needed and bring them back, because everything in China was shut down before we were. That was the only way they could get parts there, and that's been a wake up call, I think, for a lot of manufacturers. So the whole kind of reshoring agenda and bringing manufacturing back to the UK is certainly something. And indeed, there is a supply chain conference theatre, separate conference theatre at Subcon, focusing specifically on the challenges around supply chains and
because like you say, I mean, that whether it's an urban myth or not, the companies that I know that have been able to sustain those supply chain issues have been the ones that were in a position to stock up really early and really quickly. But now those resources are running out, and the delays and the waits for some of these companies, they're just like years, months. It's to me as a business myself, I just can't comprehend it. And I mean, that would be fascinating to be able to go along and listen and hear about that, because where does that go? What does that mean?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think supply chains have never really been a particularly trendy thing to talk about. It's not been something that many people give a second thought to. The general public, I go back to them and their kind of perception of the industry. They don't really think about how their phone or their laptop or their clothes get manufactured and then sent to them. It just kind of happens, and you go into the shop and buy what you need, and it's all kind of there. And now that there's broken links in those supply chains for whatever reason, it's suddenly front and center, and it really is important that that businesses work out ways of kind of solving those, I suppose.
Yeah, because you're right. It literally is the impact it has on everything, because people don't understand necessarily And it's a bit like putting an event on. We put on an event ourselves, and it's, everyone comes along to the event, sees the event, but they don't see everything that goes on behind the event. And even, rising prices in fuel, that affects generators if you're doing outdoor events. There's all these different aspects. And, like you say, lead times, people are like, well, why is everything taking so long? Why has the price gone up? And it's good for people to be educated about those things, because, that cost and those implications carry on all the way down the chain to the consumer, don't they? That's the way it is. So I think it'd be really interesting. Are you expecting a lot of students? Do you get a lot of students coming along? What sort of, people?
We do. Yeah, we do. Well? Yeah, we do. We're kind of open to everyone, really. We a lot of the all of the conference content is very much thought leadership. So if you're there to learn, whatever, you're always learning, aren't you? But we pitch it at quite an accessible level, so everyone should. It's not going to be a death by technical jargon in any of the presentations. But so they're more than open to everyone, really. We try and pitch it at a level that everyone can understand and everyone can benefit from.
I mean, things like Brexit, the pandemic, supply chains, skills. What are some of the ways? I mean, I'm putting you on the spot now, Chris. What are some of the ways that you think some of these can be solved without giving away all your gold nuggets that you're going to?
It's a good question, Nicole. Wow. If I had that
question from, it's so good.
If I had a definitive answer to that, Nicole, I'd probably be I'd be trying to run for Prime Minister.
But golden power.
Exactly.
Around by golden bullions, wouldn't you? Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, there are things that can be done. It's the manufacturing sector is over and above most others, I'd say, is very resilient, and any challenge that gets thrown its way, whether that is something like Brexit that you can plan for to some extent, or something like the pandemic that no one saw coming and created disruption overnight. They've ridden through these storms, and there'll be plenty of others that they'll have to ride through, and they will do quite happily. They're innovators. They're good at thinking on their feet. When a problem arises, whether that's a machine going down for half an hour at a critical moment, or Britain leaving the EU and all the fallout with that, they'll find a way around it. It's kind of, but there is more that can be done. We can't just leave them all to their own devices and expect them to sort it out. I think there needs to be more. My point earlier about government support, and there's organisations like Make UK, who I've mentioned, and various others who are there to kind of lend support and lend advice. Indeed, manufacturing management and the kind of engineering titles that we have at the Mark Allen Group are good voices for that kind of thing. So and obviously attending events like Subcon and EDS and all the other events, just to kind of keep on top of what's going on, and techniques and little pearls of wisdom that you'll get from listening to some of the speakers or speaking to some of the exhibitors, or even other people wandering around the show. You never know who you meet in the queue for a coffee, who might be having a similar problem to you. I think for the industry to kind of open up and share its problems is important, because every company, whether you're a massive car manufacturer or a SME with 20 employees, you'll all be facing similar problems. The skills shortage, the supply chain shortage or supply chain problems. Every manufacturer is going to be going through those. So speaking to your peers, speaking to your colleagues, speaking to other companies is going to be the best way of kind of coming to a common solution, really. Of course, government could be doing more. They always could. But there are proactive ways of going out there and forcing the agenda, I suppose.
Forcing the agenda and working together.
Well,
when can people come along to the Subcon show?
Subcon is from the 7th to the 9th of June, so in not that long to wait.
Week after next.
Exactly, week after next. Yeah,
register.
You can, of course. Yeah, it's free to attend. The first conference starts at 10:30, so it's a relatively civilized start. It's a relatively civilized start. We're not going to drag you out of bed too early. And then, they run all day. The conference sessions run all day. The show's open all day. We're looking forward to obviously seeing as many people through the doors as we can and helping to make it a brilliant event like it always is.
Great. Well, like I said, we'll be there. I'm looking forward to you giving us some suggestions and your team of people you'd like us to talk to on your behalf. But we were delighted to be asked to come along. So it was really good at EDS to actually sit and talk to people at the show as the show was going on. We're filming some of the episodes. I think we're doing 16 episodes at the show.
Wow.
So
wow. You've got a busy week ahead.
My jaw's going to be a little bit, but apparently I can talk quite a lot, so I should be okay. But I need to be listening more than talking. So it would be a great opportunity to talk to people. So if, while we're on here, if anyone wants to talk to us desperately, then get in touch with Chatty Hatter or get in touch with you guys, because we'll be there for the 3 days talking to people. And I'm really interested to, what comes up through that as well. But it's been fantastic to talk to you today, Chris.
Likewise.
Go on and get on with your busy job, because you've got very busy jobs by the sounds of it. So thank you for taking the time out to talk to us.
No, thank you.
Just everyone get along to Subcon and support the Manufacturing Management magazine and the Engineer. We do, and we suggest other people do too. And get along to the exhibition and get chatting and listening and enthusiastic about how we can make the future better, really.
Yeah, well said, Nicole. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Well, listen, this is myself, Nicole P.S. Turner, signing off today from That Engineering Chat. We are supporting and attending at Subcon this year live. If you would like to come along and see us on the day, please just pop on the stand. There'll be information under this telling you all about where we're going to be and what we're going to be doing. Or if not, get directly in touch with the team about how you can get involved in any of those. But most of all, Chatty Hatter are delighted to be working with these guys and just give them a lot of support, because it's a big deal putting events on, and it's this year's been as toughest as any, I can tell you from personal experience. So well done, you guys, and I can't wait for it to be a roaring success. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Nicole. Right. Look forward to seeing you at the show.
Yeah, Cheers. Me too. Can't wait. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.